Good morrow, people of the Internetiverse. So as you can probably hear, my chest is still delightful, so I'm unfortunately not going to be able to bring you rantables for the third week in a row. So I'd like to apologise for that. But, like I introduced last week, I've got a new segment, so until further notice, I'm just going to continue with that one. So, in this week's Story of a Life, I'm going to discuss the difference I experienced when I went from my old college over in Bromsgrove, North Bromsgrove High School, when I went from sixth form there to Worcester Sixth Form College, and the sheer just colossal difference between the two. So, when I was still at North, the most you'd experience, like, personal problems and so on, the most you'd experience is like, oh, this person kissed that person, oh, they cheated on me by going on a date with this other person. It wasn't childish, it wasn't, like, awful, it just seemed quite basic and quite conservative in, like, how much further life has gone since then. Looking back on it, it seemed very much sort of PG-13 problems. They were still just as big, they were still, horrible and affected people just as much. But they were more a PG-13 level rather than the 18 and up that I experienced when I got to Worcester. So, one such example from Worcester of problems that I got introduced to almost straight away was I walked into my college class, into my health and social care group, and got introduced to everybody, and you get a whole new state of friendship groups, you get a whole new state of bullies, you get a whole new state of everybody trying to protect themselves, both just protect themselves sexually from the only guys in the group, as if we were some kind of horrific rapists who'd been planning this for years, and finally we're in a class full of women, as if there was anything we could have possibly or would have possibly done. I walked into the class and got a combination of, hi Dad, I'm X and I'm a lesbian, I'm Y and I'm in a relationship, I'm Z, and nothing's ever going to work out between us, I hate you. And it's like, I've been in the room 10 minutes. What? Okay, great. I don't understand, but fine. Whereas at North, you'd walk into a classroom and if people didn't like you, they would avoid you. If people did like you, they would just latch onto you like a horrific leech. And it's just a bit of a change. But the longer I was there, the more I realised, wow, North was tame. So, a few weeks, maybe even a few months into my time there, I got told about just this one guy who did a few things the college didn't like, and he probably wasn't going to be around for very much longer. And I thought, he can't have done too much. And I came in the one day and they're like, yeah, he's not in today. Oh, okay. What's he done then? What could he possibly have done to be suspended? And he'd had sex with another student in the music practice rooms. They just decided that they didn't really want to do the music or whatever lesson they were in. I don't even think they were in music. Not that that really makes it any worse. They just decided to go into these music practice rooms that were short little, 5 foot by 5 foot rooms sort of thing, not very big at all. They got a piano in and that was about it, and they just decided to strip off and go at it under the piano. And another student, actually in music, had decided, right, I need to, go off and practice this, had opened the door, caught them and been like, oh, okay then, I'll go. Teachers had found them and they got suspended. At North, people had barely kissed. You would be lucky if you'd found anybody in the school that had had sex, and if they had, they were willing to, they'd spoken about it. let alone were willing to do it in a public place, especially the school. So I was in shock. Everybody else was like, oh, it's just another week. I had no idea. I was just dumbfounded by how you could get away with that sort of thing and nobody care. But it's one of many things that was different there. The one for me that sort of put the final nail in the coffin of, yeah, I'm way out of my league here, was when I used to have to take the bus every morning because Bromsgrove to Worcester, it's about 45 minutes to an hour on a bus, and I had to get to college somehow. So there used to be a specific college bus that would show up in Bromsgrove and would go all the way to the college. And the one morning when I was on the bus, on my way there, as I normally would, just put my headphones in, pull out a book or Game Boy or whatever it was. I was entertaining myself somehow. And the bus, quite a few people on the bus kept walking up and down and asking what was wrong with this one guy, and kept, thrusting water in his face and throwing this, that and the other at him, and just seemed to be crowding him and everything. And so I got a bit confused. I turned off my music, I put my book or whatever away, and I asked what was going on. And essentially this guy had done a hell of a load of coke the night before and had woken up feeling pretty lousy in, I assume, the coke equivalent of a hangover. I don't know enough, I'm afraid. So he decided that the best solution would be to do a little bit more just to wake himself up. So he was shaking pretty violently and had gone bright white. He looked like he was about to vibrate through the bus. He was going so fast. He was sweating. He did not look well. And all of his friends were making it worse by screaming, oh, what's going on? What do we do? What's going on at him? And throwing this, that and the other. So I don't know why any of them believed that this would be a reason to know what I was doing, but they're like, don't worry, I know first aid. And they all backed away as if clearly the first thing you're taught in a first aid lesson is how to deal with cocaine overdose. Apparently they believe that. So they all back out the way, and I go over and I speak to him and see how he's doing. And I essentially just made up some shit. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know. I don't know anybody who would know what they were doing, so I didn't even know who to call. So all that I thought was, well, if it's essentially a cocaine hangover, why don't I just deal with it the same way you would with a regular hangover? And again, they believed this. So I gave him a load. He was drinking water. As soon as he got off the bus, I was like, right, go find the greasiest food you can and eat all of that, and it should break down all the stuff in your body. It'll take a while, and it's going to be, you're going to feel like this for a while you do it. Or the other option is you can go for just a real long run and try and burn out your system that way. It's going to hurt like a bitch, but you might as well give it a shot. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. Gets off the bus and goes and gets all this greasy food and everything. I'm still walking towards my lesson thinking, I have no idea what I've just said. I don't know if that's going to work. Is this guy going to be dead tomorrow, and is it going to be my fault? Oh, God. And I walk into my lesson, and the teacher goes, Dan, why are you late? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, there was just some guy ODing on the bus, I had to sort it out. And I was hoping, I didn't think about it, and I was hoping she'd just brush it off as me being sarcastic and silly. And she's like, Dan, can I speak to you for a second? So I had to go step outside and explain to the teacher that some stranger I've never met was having some kind of cocaine overdose. I did everything I could. And apparently she agreed with me. The steps I'd given were apparently fine. Again, I don't know whether she knows that or whether she was just saying, yeah, that makes sense. Essentially just trying to calm me down. So as soon as that was finished, she's like, oh, okay, you can go back in. So I stepped inside the classroom. I was there for about, I'd literally turned on the computer ready to start my coursework when the head of year appears. It's like, Dan, can I speak to you for a second? Oh, God. Who was he? I don't know. He was just some guy. Oh, where is he? I don't know. He was going to the canteen. I don't know if he's still there, if he's gone home. And it was just all day. I was getting called aside by various senior staff members to talk about this stranger who OD'd. And I knew his friends. I could have, spoken to, told them to go speak to them. But I thought, well, if he's that kind of guy and I get him, into trouble and get him, spoken to by police, by whoever, the kind of guy who's able to get coke regularly and able to, decide that doing it on the bus to college would be a smart idea is probably not the kind of person you want to upset ever. So I sort of went, I know nothing. He was just a guy. I've never seen him before. Haven't seen him since. I'll let you know, though. Can I go back to lessons now? Thank you. So, all in all, Worcester went a little beyond expectation compared to little old North. Like I said, it doesn't mean what happened at North or who the people at North were any less. It just meant that I was dealing with insanity on the one side and I was dealing with just awful on the other. I was dealing with people's horrible problems that were, messing with people's minds and really, really upsetting them and leaving them, worse for wear. And then on this side, I'm dealing with people fucking in changing rooms, ODing on buses, deciding that they're lesbians to avoid the possibility of me ever asking them out 1 minute, and then 3 days later being in a relationship with a guy and being like, oh, I got over it, as if it was a cold. Apparently lesbianism's a cold, people. Who knew? And yeah, Worcester was a pretty weird time. So I have no real more point on Worcester. I'll no doubt have more stories from them in the future, but for now I guess that's the story of a life, and I'll see you next week. See you around, internet.